Hi, I'm the Naked Fairy, and today I want to talk about the president. Now, this isn't about politics, it's not about ideology, it's not about campaign promises or public policy. This is about having a commander-in-chief, a president, a leader, who gives every appearance of not respecting women, of treating them like property and like objects instead of people. You only had to be paying half attention to the news during the campaign to hear the recording of the then candidate in the past talking about how he would go and grab women by the crotch. That's not about sex. That's about power. But as disturbing as that is, and the allegations of sexual misconduct that did arise, well, first of all, there was everyone's reactions to it. Some people were, I think, understandably alarmed at the prospect of electing a leader that openly disdains half of our population. There were those who disdained it as locker room talk. And that's just an excuse. Men that respect women, that's not the kind of locker room talk they have. It just isn't. I want you to walk up to any man that you know that has genuine respect for women and ask him if that's the sort of thing he would ever say, ever claim, even jokingly. I don't believe it is. See, I've been around a lot of men who treat women with respect. And there are a lot of men out in the public who treat women with respect. There were so many people who spoke out against it that said things like, as the father of daughters, it shouldn't matter the gender of your children when it comes to respect for other human beings. I don't need to have sons to respect men, to treat them as people, as individuals, recognizing that there are good men, there are not so good men. There are men that respect people regardless of their gender, or their sexuality, or their race, or their religion. And there are men who simply don't respect other people. They may play at respect because the person has power or influence that they need, but they don't respect other people. See, when you truly respect other people, there's no place for racism or sexism or any of those isms. There just isn't. And as disturbing as all of that about the candidate was, we now have a president, President Donald Trump, who is surrounded by men, who is making policy toward women without the input of women, who's making healthcare decisions, or wanting to make healthcare decisions for the nation without representation, representing our nation. Did you see the pictures from the White House? How many of them are rooms full of older white men? And that's only a portion of our population. Women are at the edges. Not only is his wife at the edges, where for the last 40 years we have evolved into first ladies that, while officially don't have a role, unofficially, they do a lot, and their husbands listen to them. And if you read interviews with presidents back to Ronald Reagan, they will tell you that their wives played an important part in their presidency, even if it was just behind closed doors. And so now we have a president whose wife is at the fringes, and I'm not talking about where she lives. I'm talking about the way he acts around her and around other women. The women are at the fringe. I'm sure most of you have seen the infamous picture of Kelly Conway on the couch of the Oval Office with her bare feet tucked up under her as she took a picture of the presidents from historic black colleges. And there was all this to do about the fact that she had her shoes up on the couch of the Oval Office. Okay, seriously, people, get a grip. It's the president's office. And if he doesn't mind, well, it's his office. That's where he works. And it's his right to say how people behave in his office. What was more disturbing was the fact that the presidents of historic black colleges, well, how many women did you see in that picture besides Kellyanne Conway? And the fact that all the to-do about her, well, she was just on the fringes. She was just another woman on the outside looking in. And she's made herself prominent. But she's done that. And I'm not going to tell you that I like the woman, because I think she does a disservice to the office of the White House and the office of the presidency, and to intelligent people everywhere, quite frankly. But the prominence that she's had, she's made for herself. Certainly nobody in this administration or in the campaign gave it to her. And while we have an adult first daughter, this adult first daughter is, well, she's paying a lot of lip service to things. But you don't see her standing up and speaking out against the misogyny, against the policies that directly impact women. It really disturbs me. It really disturbs me that we elected a man who clearly held women in such disdain. It disturbs me that men who claim to love women voted for this man. They thought it was okay for him to set the example for the nation. And don't make a mistake, presidents are examples. And we want them to be positive examples. And I don't believe this one is. Again, this isn't about his policies. This isn't about campaign promises or ideology. This is about how he marginalizes women. And women are the majority of assault victims. And sexual assault, again, is not about sex. It's about power. Sexual assault is quite frankly an easy way to assert power over women. Now we can quibble about the word assault. Does grabbing a woman by the crotch constitute assault? I don't care what you call it. It's not right. And look, here's the thing. I don't expect presidents to be examples of moral superiority. They are people. They are people who have flaws, who make mistakes, who make bad decisions. They are people who got to power because sometimes they did not so nice things. And quite honestly, I don't know that I necessarily want a nice president. This is a person who has to stand up to the leaders of the world. And some of those leaders, quite a few of those leaders, are not nice people. I want someone who can stand up to them, who can stand firm on behalf of our country. So I don't expect presidents to be perfect. But I do expect presidents to just behave well in public. And I expect them to understand that what they've done in the past won't be kept secret. It simply won't be. When politicians are caught out in scandals, my disappointment is not about the scandal. It's about how they honestly believed they could keep it a secret. Folks, this is the 21st century, and there are no secrets. Whether we like it or not, there are eyes and ears everywhere. It only takes one other person to know the secret, and it's not a secret anymore. And it isn't a secret that we have a president that objectifies women. But you see, the problem is compounded because we have a society full of women, girls, who have been victimized, who have been assaulted, who've been raped, who've been molested, and, well, they learned that to a person of significance, they were an object. They were a means to an end. And unfortunately, for too many women, being treated like an object is the status quo. I think of the term trophy wife. Is there a more objectifying picture of a wife? So often in life, it's not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's not about what this president is doing per se, it's about how he's doing. He's doing it without the voices of women. He's doing it keeping women on the fringes. And he's already demonstrated a pattern of objectifying women. He's demonstrated it with his wives, and he's demonstrated it with the women around him. And this really concerns me. You are not a piece of property. You're not an object. You're not a thing. You're a person. And you deserve to be treated with dignity and with respect. That's the baseline. That is the very foundational standard of how we treat people. We treat them with dignity and respect. Even when we disagree with them, even when we believe that we need to do things to perhaps alter their role in society, we still treat people with dignity and respect. The language we use matters, the way we approach people, the way we touch people, or more importantly, the way we don't touch people. Because there is a lesson that this president does not seem to have learned, and too many of the people around him who sustain him in power, who support him, who do not object, there is a lesson that they have not learned. President Trump, clothing is optional, but consent is not.